Right, guys, it's going to be quite warm again today. Not too well, it is, yeah, 33 degrees. Now, I've been up early to beat the sun. It's just come up now. You can see it now coming through the window. Um, I've got like a ridge behind the house, and it comes up later and later now as we go on into the autumn and the winter. But it's coming up now about 8:30. But I've been doing some land clearance and kind of water defences because I had a bit of a scare last autumn. We had a lot of rain for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I don't usually get much. I've got like a little channel in the back, and it kind of got blocked up. I don't know how. I think even the water might have flipped it like a flat stone up into the outlet. Anyway, almost it was lapping up to the house. But as soon as I moved the stone, it went the water. So I'm doing a bit of extra work as well to try and mitigate a bit of the water coming into the property. A few swales, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, I've been up early doors, and I was out from 7:30 till 9:30. So that's 2 hours, and I got quite a bit done actually. So quite pleased with that. And it's getting hot now. It's even hot now outside. As soon as that sun comes out, it's all right for the lizards and the snakes, but not for me. And I might even have put the little aircon on today. I haven't had it on for the last 3 days. Right, I got a little comment there about what can I do a video about what do I miss about the UK. So that's the end of the video. Now, what do we miss about the UK? There is just one thing that springs to mind, and just one, and then I'll explain the other one. And that's our local takeaway, Chinese. I used to get two dishes there, and not even all the time in the UK because I was mostly travelling around the UK. But I tried to get the same dishes up and down the country and compare them. I could have done rate my takeaway like the other guy, but our chippy was never beaten, never. And it's called Sang Sangs in Liverpool 19. So if you ever want the special curry, never beaten. Special curry, and I used to get half chips and half rice because if you're a minge bag, you get slightly more than you would if you just had rice or just had chips. I used to get half and half, and that was fantastic. And I do miss that. I really, really, could do with a special curry now and again. I can do curries here, and I do a pretty good curry. I can do an on par, but nothing like what they made, because they had all the other ingredients. Like I used to like the char siu pork. They used to put it on top, and there was another dish I used to have, the special fried rice, and the way they did it, and that was I never beat that. Maybe one other chippy beat that one, but just one. But like I used to get special fried rice. That's if I didn't get the special curry. If I was living at home, I would get one of each during the week. But like in the later years, I didn't even have a home there. But I went down once from all the way from North Liverpool to get one, and if it was ever kind of landing in Liverpool airport on Ryanair, I'd kind of try and go past and get one. And so that's the only thing I miss. Well, tell a lie. There's another couple. I'm covered in creatures now from the garden, because it's like it's alive, Bulgaria, with creatures. Yeah, the other thing I kind of miss is going to the Chinese supermarkets. I used to love it. And there was a Middle Eastern shop as well, which was quite good. I think they were like from Middle East somewhere, maybe Iraq, maybe Iran. Don't know where they're from. I didn't ask because and they used to sell goat there as well. So you used to get goat, and but the stuff they had was brilliant. And I used to go there for hours and hours, and they used to kind of shadow me, follow me around. I don't know. Well, you might have thought I was stealing stuff or whatever. I don't know. They didn't get many like single blokes in there like looking around for hours. I don't think. So I think one guy said something to me once, like what you're looking for or something like that. And I just said, I'm just looking at everything that you've got, trying to work out what it is. And the Chinese supermarkets were fantastic. I used to spend hours in there, hours. And the stuff you can get in there, unbelievable. And you can get all these remedies as well, which I tried a few of them. They're fantastic. Ginseng, one of them was ginseng, and it was like can't remember. It was like little bottles, and you'd snap the top off. And it was fantastic stuff. It really did work, I could run around the block after one of them. But what do I miss? I tell you what I do miss. My nomadic lifestyle. I was going backwards and forwards for, I think it was about 8 years, maybe 10, maybe more. Backwards and forwards. Yeah, it was more. I did it all the way through, really. But I spent more and more time here. And I only had a small break where I didn't do it for a few years after 2008. Because it was not good to. It was good to keep hold of your contracts then and stay with the companies as long as you could, because it wasn't hard to get work, but it wasn't as easy as it normally was, and there was a bit of a fear factor, right? And the house was on hold in the UK because nothing was moving, if you remember. And I decided then to do the loft and finish the loft into a little apartment. So I stayed there actually for, I think it was 3 years. I didn't come to Bulgaria, except for like a couple of weeks in the winter, which was a bit of a mistake really, because over Christmas and New Year, bit of a mistake because you've got to be prepared for winter here. You can't just walk into it. You've got to get your routines sorted out, and it was a place, and it was They were cold winters as well. Those 3 winters, very cold. I think I got here, it was -18, and coming from the UK, it's a bit cold. But what I do miss, anyway, back on track. What I do miss is the nomadic lifestyle and the driving down each year. And what I used to do is I used to go to the UK with nothing every year. And then what I'd do is I'd buy a 4x4, because I used to get good money for them here in the old days. Not now. I don't think it's even viable now with the fuel costs and the insurance, because that used to cover you. When they went in the EU, you used to generally get covered by bog standard insurance from the UK, and I had traders insurance, part-time trader, and that was great because you can have up to 5 vehicles, or more. You could have more on my policy, so you could swap and change cars all the time. You could have 3 cars at a time. So if I saw a good car when I was there, I'd buy it, and that would be my car for when I went back the next year. if you understand what I mean. Because what I used to do is I used to buy a caravan and a car. That's they always had to have a tow bar on and all that to tow the caravans around. And then I used to do a project every year, and now and again it ran on into the next year, and then I'd have a longer break here. Right? But what I do miss is the contrast and the change. A change is as good as a rest, as they say, because I was busy here when I was here, Bulgaria, renovating houses, very busy actually, and then I was busy full time in the UK, and I used to try and get 6 days a week or 7 sometimes. And the 7 days a week ones were pretty good because you could burn yourself out and then come and have a good break, and you obviously work more money at your disposal, so you could have maybe a longer break. But I used to love going back and starting from fresh every year. And sometimes, like I say, I'd have a car. If I saw a good bargain or something, I'd kind of try and keep it somewhere, on a. Sometimes I left it with a family member and said, you can use it, do what you want. And that worked out. That was good because you had a car to go back to. And that was a good bit of strategizing, good bit of strategy. And you could, get to know the car wasn't a duffer while you were there, kind of used both. And then I'd buy a caravan, and I was getting good money for the caravans down here as well. Not mega bucks, just good money, just decent, more than I paid for them, like by a little bit. And I used to get some on eBay, which, I used to try and bid at the last minute, and sometimes they wouldn't even sell it to you because although they didn't have a a reserve price on it, they'd make an excuse up and say, oh no, someone else bought it yesterday, which they didn't, and because it went too cheap, they wouldn't sell it. You don't have to, it's not a law, but it's good practice to sell it, and you can report those people, but I didn't bother because just move on. So what I used to do is I used to get the caravan, and then I used to identify loads of stuff that was cheaper in the UK than it was, or you couldn't get it here. You can get everything here now, almost, and you can't get the obscure Chinese stuff that they have in the super, but you can't get that most in the UK, if you haven't got Chinese supermarkets around. So I used to get all that gear together and load of Chinese stuff as well, all the far-flung stuff, and I used to put it in the caravan, and sometimes I ended up with a heavy caravan. And these old Jeeps were struggling. They're struggling up some of the mountains, and there's a big hill. There's a massive hill, and those that have drove down through Austria, it's like an outer ring road around Vienna, right? And it's a hill, and it's about, I don't know, it's like endless. It's like about 5 miles long. It seems like 10. And like if you get over there, if you get up there, I think you've made it, If you get up there, you've made it. And I kind of nearly always got up it, Well, I always got up that one. But I have broken down a few times. Because the age of the things that I was buying, the old, mainly old Japanese 4x4s, great cars. But like by that age, like 18 years old, 20 years old, the hoses can go and things like that, it's quite rare the engines go. They usually last for ages, But things, the odd things can go, And there was one particular Jeep that was falling apart by the time we got here. It was a Suzuki Vitara, and it just wasn't big enough to tow this caravan, and it was full of stuff. It was full of stuff, tin stuff in there. It was always tin stuff in jars, and they're heavy. They are when you've got hundreds of them. And I used to put the stuff in the middle of the caravan, and kind of towards the back, so it didn't overload the rear axle on the car. And I used to put a load of gear in the car. Tried to put it in the middle of the car as well for the centre of balance. So I do miss the contrast and obviously I was loaded when I took off from the UK, and there was always that the day where you leave. It's so easy with a caravan because all your gears, you just get out of bed, hook the caravan up. You don't even have to make your bed. You hook the caravan up, wind in the 4 legs, make sure you unhook the electrics, and make sure you bring the cable with you as well. And then you're off. And I used to have a good system there with the older caravans. You never trust the tyres, especially on the long journey, like it's 2,000 miles plus from the UK to where I live here. And all in one go, like it's the tyres. You see so many people with trailers, actually, like boat trailers and car trailers and stuff like that, with punctures. They have blowouts, because the thing with them is that they're like kind of substandard tyres anyway. And a lot of them, these boat trailers, they've been backed into the sea and all this. And caravans, if you leave them standing, they get flat spots on the tyres. This is a good tip for anyone who's going on a long distance journey in an old caravan. Don't go on the tyres what's on it, and have a good look at them. So what I used to do is, when they get a flat spot, they bounce along then, and they hit that flat spot, and eventually they just blow the tyre. That's what I've found, especially with a load of tins of beans sitting in on top of them, So what I used to do is I used to have a look at the spare tyre. Most of them have never been used on caravans, right? So there's one good tyre. And then I used to buy spares off this guy who used to break caravans, and various other things I used to buy off him as well. So I used to go there and buy the spares out of the caravans, but when I used to break the caravans, I used to take the wheels off. But I made sure I was getting a spare, because some of them look okay, but they've still got the flat spot, And so I used to get 2 spares, right? And the spare I had in the caravan. So that's 3 tyres. And then the tyres that were on the caravan, they became another 2 spare tyres. So I had 3 spare tyres. So you're going to get there, more or less. You're going to get to Bulgaria with 3 spares, And I think I only ever had one blowout, but another few blew out when they're here. When I was in Bulgaria, because the roads used to be quite bad now. They're better now than the UK. So I did miss my nomadic lifestyle. I do miss that. I used to like going back to the UK with a challenge ahead, a new project, and then I used to get a new, well, not new, an old car and an old caravan, and then started that again, and then used to build up my stocks, and then I used to get to Bulgaria, and by that time I was burnt out. I was absolutely burnt out because I've been working, and planning, and then driving down with the caravans. It's not, well, it wasn't stressful to me, but it's hard going. You've got to be careful in a caravan. They can start swaying and all sorts. You've got to, especially and overtaking and stuff like that. It's almost impossible with the right-hand drive car on a motorway or something. But sometimes you've the vehicle in front's so slow that you tend to want to overtake. And some of the caravans you can see right through them. I used to open the curtains in the back of the caravan, and you could see right through. And some of them, not all of them, but some of them. So that was the trip every year, and I got pretty good at it, And with the caravan, I learned just take it easy, stop whenever you want, and I always had a whistling kettle, and the fridge as well could it run on gas. So I could bring stuff like a ton of bacon, and I'd freeze it. I'd freeze it in work actually in the freezer in the fridge in the canteen, and then you could get the fridge as cold as you could on the hook up the electric, and they did have a little freezer actually, some of the fridges, and then I could. It was 4 days with a caravan trip. So when I got here, I used to collapse, and of course, people are coming round because they haven't seen you for ages. And I told them in the end, I said, look at me, when I come back, just give me 2 days, 3 days to come down, acclimatise, have a rest from the trip, Because they used to come round first thing in the morning, and then it used to take about, it used to take me about 3 days to unload the caravan, because there was all these tins of stuff and bedding and clothing, and the car was full of crap as well. And it used to take me ages because I like to organise it as I put it in the house, And it used to take ages because I used to have to put the caravan over the road in the little field. So I used to go backwards and forwards with all these carrier bags full of stuff, And I do miss that I do miss that lifestyle. And it's a strange lifestyle, Not many people do these things, which was I was accused of many times being not normal, or other even worse things. But who ended up with all the stuff, and then I'd sell the car, and I wouldn't sell the car straight away, but I'd put it for sale, and I'd tell them I'm not going to sell it I'd sell them in 6 months when I'm ready to go, But I'd sell the caravan in days. I used to have people waiting, caravans, in the end, and people requesting them. And I used to give them to this friend of mine, and he was brilliant at valeting them, and he used to fix all these things on them like a maniac, They were like brand new. and when he'd finished with them. And I used to just tell him, I want this for the and that was my money. So I was exchanging money as well with the process. It's because I was getting levs, and I'd get a big load of levs for the caravan. Usually about 5,000 lev. These old caravans. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was usually about 3,000 lev for the caravans. 1,500 quid, yeah, or a bit less. And I was getting about 12 to 1,500 quid for these caravans, and I was paying 700 to 800. But I had to get them down here, And usually the trip cost around about 400 quid with the ferry, depending on which ferry. It would cost a lot more now with the fuel. And obviously I had the insurance as well sorted, and I used to have this German breakdown cover as well. So I had all sorts, so you had to split the 400 quid travel cost between the car and the caravan. So you'd put 200 on. So the caravan's working out about $1,000, right? And then I'd sell it for about 1,200 quid to 1,500 quid, and then so there's your little profit. Not much, but like if you paid for all that, and you've got a profit on your caravan, so that's paid for probably all your pitching costs in the UK for the last 6 months. So you end up with a good little system. And I used to get good money for these Jeeps, and I'd make a bit more on the vehicles than I would on the caravans, actually. So maybe I could sell the caravans for more, but I wasn't bothered. It wasn't a money-making exercise. It was just like, get rid of that caravan quick, give me some money kind of thing, I didn't want to hang in about, because that was my money for the next few months. So it was great, it was fantastic. So I do miss that, and I miss the relief when you actually arrive, and the silence in Bulgaria. I do miss that, the arriving, because obviously when you're here all the time, you don't get all these contrasts and changes, and actually it was like a holiday coming down in the caravan in the end, because I got so relaxed doing it. In the end, I did it every year for years, and I got so relaxed with it that I treated it like a holiday. And I used to actually take longer to come down in the end. Just have a little, just meander down. Stop wherever you want. And if it was a nice stop, like if you get these motorway services, you can, by the way, you can camp for nothing there. It's not like the UK. All the way down, any country, you can stop in the services. And I used to get into the try and avoid where the wagons are, because they can be a bit snobby. Who's this fella in a caravan, So you find the coach stop. They have, the little picture of the coaches, and go in there to sleep over, because the coaches only stop during the day, the tourist coaches. So you were all right there. You didn't get the looks off these wagon drivers. They could be a bit snotty, They were definitely a bit snobby about it, because you're taking one of their colleagues' places, Although it's nothing to do with them. And it was free. And if you got in a good one, which you find the services which are away from the motorway, because motorways are noisy, and you could get some of them which were away from the motorway slightly, and you could see it if they had a big lead off road, and you could see it going away. I'd go and check them out, and some of them would check them out, and I didn't like the look of them and carry on then to the next one to have a look. But you get to know the good ones, There's some good ones in southern Germany, actually. Bavaria, they're great. They have everything: showers, phone charging points, good toilets, everything, and ice cold Bavarian beer, and so I did miss. That's one thing you do miss, is going backwards and forwards, which is never going to happen again. Because I've kind of, I think I've retired. It looks like, anyway. So it's a long video, but I hope you enjoyed that. Cheers.